ancient Chinese secret.
Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John, are there any real barbershops left anymore? Are there any guys hanging around the barbershop singing like that anymore? Or is it all like fancy schmancy sports cuts and things like that?
I'm just glad that you're here with us in the barbershop of life, Brad. I'm glad you didn't go to that big barbershop in the sky.
Well, I had to take a couple days of unplanned vacation, so let's leave it at that, okay? And I won't go into it any further than that. But I am back. I am moving forward and back on the road. And you know what? Things may come and hit me in the face. I just let it flatten my nose and keep going forward. You know what I'm saying? That's why I have.
Hey, you know that's why, Brad. You just a friend of mine was like, "Hey, is it true that Brad is weak and gay?" And I said, "Listen, Brad is my friend, and he is not weak."
But I'm gay, right?
Well, you know, I disputed half of the statement, Brad.
John,
Don't be weak and gay.
John, well, you know what?
That actually sounded kind of Russian. Go ahead.
There was a time when you said, "Hey, we're going to have a party and we're going to have lots of fun. Things are going to be gay," and people will go like, "Oh wow!" You know what I mean? We're in fact, which one of the Christmas carols where it's like "Happy and Gay" or something like that, right?
It's Don We Now Are Gay Apparel.
Don We Now Are Gay Apparel. Okay.
And remember, at the end of the Flintstone songs, they said, "We'll have a gay old time."
Exactly, we'll have a gay old time. Yeah, it's amazing.
Which is not inclusive enough, because what are you going to do about the non-binaries? That was very, very heteronormative of them.
It's amazing how things change. Well, we haven't done this in a while, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to start off with...
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
And it is the John Combest Top 3. John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T, or Combest, like the polka singers say, puts together this site every single day. JohnCombest.com, C-O-M-B-E-S-T, puts together dozens of things. And it's like a, what we call it, aggregation site. Who's the guy again? What's the guy's name?
Oh, Fatty Matty Drudge.
No, yeah, Matt Drudge. Why'd you call him Fatty Matty? Matt Drudge.
I don't know. I like the rhyming scheme.
An aggregation site where you're not going to see all sorts of fancy videos and stuff like that. You're going to see headlines, and you click on those, and it'll take you to the story. John, essentially, shall we say, he is very good at culling these things out. What would be another good word for culling?
I love the word cull. It reminds me of being in a bass boat and you're in a tournament, Brad. Yeah. And you know what? You got to pick your top 5 fish before you go to the weigh-in. You got to cull them.
You got to cull them.
Or it's kind of like, well, anyway, go ahead.
Well,
you want to choose the best of the best.
John doesn't show up with his 5 best fish. Well, fish, let me get it out of my mouth. What he does, he shows up with his top 3. And we started off with Mr. Kasem.
We're on our way to the number 1.
And we start with...
In third place, number 1.
Oh, hold on a minute. I screwed up already. Let me try that again.
In third place...
Fat Fingers.
Great news, Brad. I know you've had an easy week, so I'm going to need you to do me a favor. How would you feel about paying just a little bit more on your electric bill? How would you feel about that, Brad?
Well, it's funny you should mention it because I have to talk about electric aspect of something that I've got in my notes of. But no, I don't want to pay any more for my electric bill. I pay too much already, and I have multiple electric bills with the transmitter sites.
Yes, you do. Well, Brad, first of all, I'm thoroughly disappointed that you don't want to help the environment. Secondly, I would point to a piece from St. Louis Public Radio. Now, actually, we're going to do a throwback. I had this up yesterday, but since we weren't on the air, I want to talk to you about it because it's also one of your favorite topics, Brad. According to St. Louis Public Radio, Ameren is putting in a third solar facility, and it's going to be in Montgomery County. And here's the gem that I pulled out of it for you. Not just this is a solar facility, Brad, but also, did you know that for only about 10 extra bucks a month, you can subscribe to solar energy, and not just plain old dirty fossil fuel energy? But did you know, Brad, that you can actually opt into getting solar energy?
John, can I tell you a secret on that?
Please do.
I'll give you two initials, B and S. That is
brine. Let's talk fishing. Brine
No.
and spinnerbaits.
That is not true, because of the fact that the power you get is the power you get. You know what I'm saying? You can't.
Well, I don't know. Are you telling me that a large utility is stretching the truth about its renewable commitment?
Yes, I am, because of the fact that
Brad!
tell me. Get an electrical engineer on the air with me right now and explain to me how in the world you're going to say, well, I'm going to spend $10 a month more and I'm going to get some of that solar power. It doesn't.
I know how. I read how this works, Brad. They take a very long extension cord. For example, I could get one and send it to the O'Fallon solar facility,
Right.
and they just run it underneath. You know, they're doing bridge work up in North County, so they'll run it over that bridge where they're doing the bridge work and take it straight to my house.
Are you talking
Can't
about
you segregate the energy, Brad? Can't you say I only want solar energy coming to my house? I don't want dirty fossil fuel energy.
the only way you can do that is you put your own solar panels up. That's the only way you can do it, because the bizarre part of this is the electricity we get right now, if you would source it all, it changes from not necessarily minute to minute, but it changes because the grid, sometimes they will have a plant that will go offline, and instead of your power coming essentially from Portage de Sioux or from Labadee or Rush Island, it comes from somewhere else. And unless they run separate lines to your house off their solar panel field, that doesn't work. I call BS on this. Matter of fact, I'd love to have you. You know, you're the PR guy. I'd love to have you get in contact with one of the PR guys from Ameren and UE and say, okay, explain how this works. Is this just like a deal for you to make $10 a month more for people to go, oh, I'm using solar power in my house. Do you have solar panels? No, but Ameren UE is giving me this special feed where I get solar power. BS.
Well, first of all, that's a great impression of this woman. Her name is Rian Heidbreer. And here's the line from St. Louis Public Radio, Brad. Ameren customers can choose how much solar energy they want to subscribe to at a higher rate. She, being Rian, said even subscribing to 10% of solar energy, which costs around $10 a month, can make a difference. So, Brad, maybe what you're getting at is that you can volunteer to pay a little bit more money and just know and trust that it's going to the solar fund.
John, that would be like me saying that if you sent John and I $100 a day, we would do the show in a bikini and we would wear 6-inch stilettos by doing the show. But yet they would not know if we were doing that because this is radio, so they couldn't tell. Oh, yeah, send that $100. I've got my bikini on. John, you got your bikini on? Oh, yeah, I got your stilettos on. John, okay, we're ready to go. It's BS. I'm telling you.
I think that we're dealing with one member of our team right now that is not willing to swallow corporate messaging, and I don't know. I find that wildly offensive, Brad.
John, I'm not master electrician, okay, but I've done electrical work pretty much all my life, okay. I keep transmitters on the air. I'm not a master electrician or anything like that, but for the most part, I understand how the system works. I understand how distribution works. I understand how that whole thing, because this is part of what I do with the transmitter sites and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's
is.
What they're saying is BS because of the fact that that would be like saying, well, hey, that would be like Missouri American Water saying, hey, would you like your water coming from the Mississippi River or the Missouri River? You don't have a choice because wherever it's coming from, that's what's showing up in your tap.
Yeah. Well, I guess the answer is you're not going to help subsidize solar use, Bob.
Once again, we talked about this when with the solar field out there in O'Fallon and,
I like to get you going on
Well,
this
remember, I told you the guy I heard I wish I could remember these people I heard. The guy I heard on the radio, you got to believe everybody on the radio. He was on 97.1, or I don't know what I was listening to. I listened to so many different stations. And he was this expert on this, and he said, look at the footprint of your typical coal-fired power plants. It's 20 to 30 acres. And he says, let's say that's a 750 megawatt plant. In order to have the equivalent 750 megawatts of solar, you needed 5,000 acres. And we'll go like, whoa, hold a minute. Right here in the St. Louis area. Where could you find 5,000 acres that you could? I mean, remember, we had this whole situation. If you're too young to remember this, but a long time ago, they talked about moving the airport. They talked about moving the airport to Columbia, Illinois. They talked about moving the airport out into St. Charles County. Remember, once upon a time, they talked about moving the Rams before it was the Rams when we were dealing with the St. Louis football Cardinals. They talked about moving the Cardinals into St. Louis County and St. Charles County, and they came up with the plan that there wasn't any property that they could, we're talking maybe, I don't know, what's a football field, like let's say Kansas City.
An acre. Yeah.
Well, let's say Kansas City with the Royals and the Chiefs with the two stadiums being side by side. I don't know, was that 100 acres, 200 acres? Okay, we're talking 5,000 acres. Just nutty. Okay.
I know. Well, you know what? And the worst part is in the St. Louis area, all the really good prime areas taken up by Tesla parking lots and pickleball fields. So that's our number one story today, Brad.
That was number 3. We got to do number.
That was number 3. That's right. I'm out of practice.
Okay, here we go.
Up a notch to number 2.
Had some bad news and some good news for you, Brad. The bad news is, once again, you and I were denied by the Missouri Division of Health and Senior Services, Department of Health and Senior Services. We were denied for our marijuana microbusiness license, Brad. I hate to be the one that delivers that news to you. However, good news. You and I can reapply next year. Do you know, Brad, what the requirements are to get one of these special microbusiness licenses?
You have to have all the Cheech and Chong movies on DVD?
Yeah, and committed to memory because there's an oral test there. So that's number one. You have to have all the Cheech and Chong movies committed to memory and on DVD. And we also accept VHS and Blu-ray. But also, Brad, you have to have a disability connected to military service. Or you have to have, and here's where I need your help, Brad. I know you have some contacts in the police business. We need you to say that you have a conviction for a nonviolent marijuana offense. Do you have any nonviolent marijuana offenses in your past, Brad?
Whoa. You have to have a conviction?
Yeah, so you're required to meet at least one eligibility criteria, such as, so here's the criteria. Having a disability connected to military service. So unless, you can say that you have a fake leg because it was blown off in Fallujah, we're out of luck here. You have to have a conviction for a nonviolent marijuana offense, or you have to reside in a qualifying zip code. Now, I'm guessing that's code for black.
Okay.
So I don't know if your area is black enough, Brad, that you can qualify for living in a black zip code or not. But if you – go ahead, Brad.
You're telling me that in order to get this license, you have to have a conviction on your record?
Yeah, the majority owners of the marijuana businesses, so the majority owners have to have one of those things. They have to be handicapped because they were in the military. They have to have a nonviolent marijuana offense, and they have to have been convicted of that, or they have to live in a black enough area that they get, special treatment.
Man, what's going
So
on?
do we meet any of those, Brad? Now, remember, I am 1% Senegalese, but I don't think that can apply to this.
Well, I've had a lot of parking tickets in Clayton when I used to work with the old KSLQ, but I had my car towed a couple
times. They turned
times.
a radio station into a jail, which says something about it. Maybe that counts,
right.
Brad.
The old KSLQ.
So, Brad, it's bad news that we didn't get a micro license this time because I really want to take this dime bag business that I have and make it really a legitimate thing. I hate that I'm going to have to pay taxes on it.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm going to go out today and commit a crime, and when the police show up, I go, hey, I didn't really want to commit this crime, but I want to get one of those marijuana micro-business licenses, and I have to be convicted of a crime. So could take me to jail and write me up because then I can get my license, right?
Brad, go to the summer school program at Francis Howell and start token up in line and see if maybe you can get arrested.
John, I don't get it. Okay, last but not least.
The number one.
A pair of endorsements, Brad, in one of your favorite races, yours and mine. the Missouri Attorney General race. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton endorsed Will Scharf for Attorney General. Now, to be fair and even-handed, which we are not on this show, but this week the Missouri Farm Bureau endorsed Andrew Bailey for Missouri Attorney General. So these are two high-profile endorsements. The Missouri Farm Bureau is a big deal in Missouri, and we know nationwide Ken Paxton has quite a following among conservatives. So again, more and more attention being paid to this Attorney General race, Brad.
Interesting. And we talked about this the other day, that you still don't think that the failure of Will Scharf to get former President Trump off on the trial last week, you don't think that's going to impact him negatively?
Well, I have come to a point of agreeing with you on this, Brad. And I was given some thought to it. You lived through the 1970s. Remember how bad those Cardinals teams were in the early 70s?
Yeah, sort of like the team we've got right now.
We had quite a drought in the 70s. And looking back on it, I think that the team could have traded Bob Gibson after, like, if let's say the Cardinals don't win the pennant in 1970 and 1971. If you fail and your team doesn't win in the end, go to some of your best players and get rid of them. So Trump should just get rid of Will Scharf. The Cardinals should have gotten rid of Bob Gibson. You should blame an overall loss on one person and get rid of your top performers, Brad. You might be right about this.
So in other words, Trump should come out and say, I would be innocent if it wasn't for that Will Scharf guy.
That's right. And he could give Will like a dirty nickname or something like that. Now, to answer your question seriously, you and I just happen to disagree on this. That's all.
That's fine. Okay, we have to take a break. By the way, a couple things. I have an interview in our third segment this morning, and it's not going to be real long, but I need your help on this because we're going to be talking to Steve Ehlmann, the county executive in St. Charles County.
Nice.
About the marijuana stacking thing. And when I talked to him yesterday, he was unaware of the other court case that you brought up. Was that last week we talked about this?
In Kansas City, yeah.
Yes, and he was unaware of that, and he gave an interesting response to that. We'll have him talk about that. And, once again, I find this sort of fascinating, the whole thing. And if you know what we're talking about, it's the aspect of the fact that there's additional taxes on marijuana, and there's a 6% state tax in addition to the regular sales tax, in addition to the muni tax, in addition to the county tax, and that's what the whole thing was about. Okay, we are going to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?